for everything. He's the initiator, the facilitator, also the best on-the-ball defender. He's the guy that helps this team find chemistry, not just identity.
And so he's out with the left foot sprain, still listed day-to-day. And perhaps, John, that makes it a little easier for the Ivy League's leading scorer, Brandon Anderson.
Yeah, we'll call it easier, but ultimately it puts more of a pressure on the Duke Blue Devil defense as a whole, as a collective unit, to continue to communicate, understand where he's at all times.
And so Anderson, senior from Mahwah, New Jersey, averaging the 21 points per game. Inside, Vernon Carey has been a double-double machine. The outstanding freshman from Southwest Ranches, Florida, averaging nearly 19 points, over 9 rebounds per game. And we've had multiple flip-flops in the last 20 minutes of the Duke starting lineup. Now Jack White is back in as opposed to Matthew Hurt. And it really doesn't matter. It's more about the minutes and who's on the floor at a crucial time.
Unless you're a player, it totally matters. Not like ego and pride aren't involved down there.
Well, getting another start at the point is Jordan Goldwire, who has played extremely well. And as part of this Duke lineup, it is changing without Trey Jones this second straight game. You've got Cassius Stanley, Goldwire, Baker White, and Carey. And, you know, the reserves on this Duke team have played such a big role this year that gives the folks here in Durham, John, great hope for where this season could wind up.
Well, they got versatility, but they also have good balance. And when you have good balance and versatility, you can play a variety of different rotations. And that's something Coach K's figuring out on the fly. I mean, he's going to have to do that. Like I said, you bring in a new class every single year. They may only be here for a year, so you got to learn on the fly during the season.
Over the last 4 games, Duke's reserves have scored over 32 points per game. On the year, almost 25 per game, which is the most for a Blue Devils team in, well, over 5 years. Jack White gets his own miss and pulls it back out. Baker. Well, he has been almost automatic lately, misfiring on his first attempt, and we've got a foul on the rebound. Personal against Jack White. And here is some full court pressure with Brandon Anderson bringing the ball up. You've already met the senior point guard, Zach Hunsaker, Josh Howard. They call him T, Tamanig Cho, and Matt DeWolf. First possession, first turnover.
I like the extended pressure for Duke because it allows the defense to get set and see the basketball. This is a young Duke team, still some experience, but the young kids need to see the ball first to be able to lock in defensively. They struggle at times in transition. A lot of that is just communicating as you're getting back in a scramble situation defensively.
Foul on Cho, the all-conference junior who averages nearly 15 points per game. Second leading scorer for the Bears. Cassius Stanley works his way into the paint, missed the shot. Rebound comes to Zach Hunsaker, the rare 3-time captain. He played junior college basketball as a freshman, and immediately upon getting to the Providence, Rhode Island campus at Brown University was named a captain. Off the bounce, Anderson, a little strong on the pull-up. Goldwire with numbers. Stanley elevates and lays it in.
That's where this Duke team is really at their best. When they can get a rebound, get out and run. They run lanes well, they throw ahead well, and that's where they just make plays. In the half court, there's times where they struggle. They get a little stagnant, and the lack of three-point shooting does hurt them.
Bad spacing there leads to the turnover. White, open corner 3. Carey tracks down the long rebound and attacks. Boy, that's going to be a tough matchup for anybody Brown tries to put on him. That time, Matt DeWolf was just overwhelmed.
It's kind of like a quasi-Euro step. He kind of James Hardened that thing, just went into the body. But Vernon Carey understands, too, when you get that close to the rim in a one-on-one situation, just throw it up off the glass. You can go get your own rebound.
Anderson, another clean look. Now 0 for 2 from the floor. White plucks the rebound.
Well, you think about the rust. Last time they played was December 10th.
Baker is fouled by Hunsaker. Duke with a 4-game winning streak coming into this one, led by Coach K. He's produced 28 NBA lottery picks over the years, the most ever, and has taken his program to 12 Final Fours.
I don't even think we should be able to put a resume up for Coach K, because it just makes everybody else feel inferior. You look at those numbers. It's terrific, the outcome that he's seen, but ultimately the influence that he's been on the game.
DeWolf missed the little layup. In transition, Stanley a little short. DeWolf after the rebound, and the Brown Bears have it.
That's where Brown's got to be good defensively in transition. If you force those three-point shots, so long as you're in position to rebound, you've got a better chance. In half court, they're not getting a lot of those defensive rebounds.
Brown comes in with a 5-5 record in the Ivy League, picked 5th preseason. Stanley with the throwdown. The freshman from Los Angeles makes it 6-0 Duke. Cho fouled on his way to the basket.
Cassius Stanley doing what he needs to do, just taking passes away. Gets that hand out in the passing lane. He's not off balance, though. He's not off balance to the point where if there's a back cut, it takes him out of the play. And then he is Mr. Highlight. We know about the athleticism, the explosiveness. The problem is any athlete that comes to Duke, any guy like a Cassius Stanley that is a freak athlete, he's going to be compared to Zion Williamson. And it's just not fair.
Well, he out-jumped Zion Williamson. And there you see the last 4 games for Stanley, who's had a couple of injuries he's dealt with this season. But, yeah, he broke the 1-year program record for vertical leap that Zion Williamson put up a year ago.
But Zion Williamson had a feel for the game. I would say Zion's feel and athleticism is far beyond, or was far beyond, his skill at the time last year. As he develops more and more skill, I'm really interested to see him eventually play.
What was the over-under, how long it was going to take to get Zion's name into the broadcast? We did it in 7 minutes. Shot clock violation, another forced turnover, the 4th committed by Brown.
It was probably under 7.
Under 7.
Yeah. That was my first time here.
Head coach Mike Martin, the reigning Ivy League Coach of the Year. 6 years he was an assistant at Penn, and so he's been in this building a couple of times as an assistant with the Quakers, but first time as a head coach and first time for all of these Brown players to be on this floor. Was at their practice yesterday afternoon, and it's a big deal for anybody coming in here, broadcasters as well.
And I'm not shy about that, not at all. I mean, this is, oh, wow.
The follow slam by the long and rangy Jalen Gainey.
Long and rangy, that's what you're going with, huh? Yeah, that's just explosiveness. Got to keep him off the glass. Sometimes when a shot goes up, when you're not ready for it, defense isn't ready to box out.
Well, he's 6'9" with a 7'2" wingspan and barely shoots anything but dunks and layups. You can see why. Jevin DeLaurier off the nice feed. John, he's another one of those pieces that we've talked about, and a veteran piece now who has been around, a senior, a multi-year captain, so valuable for Coach K.
Well, he's developed instincts. Didn't have him to start, but he's developed instincts as he's gone here. He's kind of crafted a bit of a feel for the game, and making the right read is ultimately what makes your team even better.
All 4 Brown points from Gainey, the sophomore from Greensboro, North Carolina. Foul on the shot will send Jordan Goldwire to the free throw line when we come back.
Good to have Cassius Stanley back and looking good. Hands in passing lanes, getting out and running. Brown's sticking around, though, not letting this one get too far away. I think has little something to do with all the rust. Miles Bridges did the same thing at Michigan State, and it was so motivating for not only the team but the fan base for Michigan State and now for Duke basketball, because you have that bit of continuity that you know what you're going to get. And I think that's important when you have such a new group, a new crop year in, year out, where you've got to have that steady constant, right? That guy that you can trust in tough situations, you can trust to be the best communicator on the floor. Right now, that is Trey Jones.
And in the meantime, his understudy Jordan Goldwire at the free throw line shooting 2, and Goldwire has steered this club very well in Trey Jones' absence.
You know, it's hard, too, because you've got to kind of be your own brand on the floor. You can't try to replicate what somebody else does. So it's going to be a different look. And I think the more time Goldwire gets, the better this team's going to be. It adds depth and experience.
Matthew Hurt has come into the game. This is Alex O'Connell. Gives it back to Hurt in the right corner. Tough running shot, no. O'Connell able to get a hand on it. And Duke will keep underneath.
Going to break, I had mentioned the rust. This Brown team hasn't played since December 10th. Duke's played, what, 1 game in 22 days we talked about? Look, basketball is all about rhythm and flow. It's hard to find it when you haven't played real games. So I would say it's going to take a good 10 minutes until we really get rolling into this game. Doesn't mean you should shut anything off, though.
Wendell Moore's also come in for Duke as O'Connell misfires, gets his own miss, and brings it back out. Yeah, Brown's last game was 18 days ago. As Hurt misfires, Duke now 0 for 6 from three-point land.
But that's rhythm. I mean, the game is all about rhythm. Shooting more so than anything else is about rhythm.
Lob to the rim. Gainey's got all 6 points for Brown. O'Connell attacks. Looked like Gainey might have gotten a piece of it. Here comes Brown with numbers. Anderson had it knocked away, and Goldwire whistled for the foul.
And Brown, when they're able to turn the corner, that's what they want to do in dribble handoff situations or ball screens, even faking a ball screen. They want to be able to turn the corner. They don't have the playmakers. This is not a knock. This is a reality. They don't have the playmakers to just break you down and make a play. They need to use actions to get you mixed up defensively, faking ball screens, dribble handoffs, to be able to turn that corner. They want to get either dunks or open 3 opportunities. Who doesn't?
Gainey sets the screen for Anderson. Tamanig Cho with the travel. Turnover number 6.
And I'm interested to see how Duke gets Vernon Carey going. It is important for him to establish himself. He's seen a double early in the game. His eyes have been up. He's done a good job, but he needs to be consistently more mobile in the post.
He went for 20 and 10 the last time out in the win over Wofford 9 days ago. O'Connell, no. Duke remains cold from the perimeter. And, you know, in looking at that Wofford tape after the game, Anderson able to save it back out to Cho. Ball hit the shot clock up above the backboard, so it is Duke basketball. But Coach K was telling us at shoot-around this morning that in reviewing the tape of the Wofford game, which Duke really did play well, defensively played very well, he said he wanted to tell his players 3 things about that: anticipate, think, and see. What did he mean by that, John?
Well, look, the game is a lot simpler than we make it out to be, and that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to simplify the game. Anticipate is just simple. Jump to the ball. You know, be a play ahead. Don't chase the play. It's really simple. Calm down. Think. I mean, it's ironic because there are times where you say don't think, play with instincts, but think. Communicate with one another. You know, be purposeful. I mean, that's really what this is all about. And ultimately, to me, that is building good habits. Those are winning habits. These are guys that it's been easy for them at every level they've played. Now, this is a great challenge. You've got to do a lot of little things really well to succeed at this level.
That foul was on Matt DeWolf, the starting center for Brown, his second. Anderson blocked out of bounds by Baker. He was able to get around the first defender, Wendell Moore Jr., but the second guy got him. Anderson.
How it goes, secondary defender. It's good to be trailing that play.
Blocked out of bounds by
Baker. Sometimes give up on it when you see someone taking the ball ahead. Those guys usually end up back on the bench, though.
DeWolf finds himself alone, and he missed the layup. Here goes Stanley with the hammer. A little tomahawk dunk makes it 12-6 Blue Devils. David Mitchell, not much of an offensive threat, gets it back out to Hunsaker, who finds Anderson for his first 3.
And that's the threat. As the play gets broken down, the defense gets put in a scramble situation where you do end up chasing the play. It's your communication that allows you to defend that, but that extra pass leads to a wide open shot.
More to carry. Ran into a brick wall in DeWolf and then missed the shot. Hunsaker fights for the rebound. The Brown Bears picked 5th in the preseason Ivy League poll, hanging with the 4th-ranked team in the country through the first 8 minutes and change here at Cameron. Mitchell with a good look, and we are tied at 12 apiece.
I would say the difference between, you see this, you don't even have anybody to get the ball inbounds. You got to call timeout. This Duke team is not engaged. Against Wofford, they were engaged in the game, and that's been the problem so far today. Right now, Coach K taking the jacket off.
The Hall of Famer's fired up and letting his troops know about it. The 1969 graduate of West Point is fired up and trying to engage his players who have not really shown that kind of oomph so far this morning.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it does seem as if this team just didn't show up yet. Doesn't mean they're not going to. I think they're going to bring a little something after this timeout, particularly on the defensive end. Something as simple as fighting over screens. You learn a lot about whether a team is really locked into a game based on how they fight over screens. They haven't done it yet.
And what they've done is allow Brown to hang in there for a while and have a little belief. 11:15 remaining in the half, tied at 12. Here's Cassius Stanley, who leads Duke with 6 points. In they go to Carey, loses his footing, and it's a travel. He saw the double team coming, tried to spin baseline, and just had his feet go out from underneath him.
He hasn't been able to get it going yet, so I understand that assertiveness, right? Like, I need to make a play. The problem is, if you're going to get a double team and you're I'd say more than 8 feet away from the basket, you've got to look opposite. You've just got to trust teammates, and I know right now 0-7 from 3 for Duke. It's hard to trust that you're going to get something better.
Shooting under 30% as a team so far as Duke, which has now turned it over 3 times. Anderson dump it off. This time DeWolf goes up strong and lays it in. An 8-0 Brown run puts the Bears in front.
And that was just too easy, just getting by Cassius Stanley to put your big in a bad situation where he's got to cover 2.
DeWolf trying to hang inside with Carey, giving up a lot of size, already has a couple of fouls. Here's that matchup. The double team draws the foul and a chance for 3.
So Vernon Carey did great work to get position in the post. The problem I have with it is that you don't want to become too Udoka Azubuike, where you just get set on the block or set in the paint and you're not going to move. At times, you've got to be able to vacate the post. You've got to pop to the top of the key. If you vacate the post, you open up driving lanes for your teammates. Right now, so much of the attention is going to go wherever he's at in the post right now.
And despite missing the free throw, one thing Carey does a lot better lately than Azubuike is shoot free throws. Yeah. He has been very, very good over the last month. Nothing but net for Brandon Anderson. The Ivy League's #1 scorer has 6, and Brown is back in front.
You had mentioned belief, and hope. Well, it's also just confidence. The fact that you can get good shots if you're Brown gives you confidence. That's a travel. Gives you confidence in your abilities against a superior team. In a tough environment, too. We had mentioned that they want to get threes. This is a dribble handoff situation. Goldwire gets caught underneath. And that's swagger right now. You don't want to play a team with swagger.
He's a confident young man from Mahwah, New Jersey. His mom and dad made the trip down to see their son play at Cameron. Baker denies Hunsaker. Brown will keep the ball along the baseline.
She saw his mom and grandmother in the hotel. They were excited, and they said, it's just stressful. My parents have been there. I know it. My brother's coaching Division III, and that stresses me out.
Of course, your brother Joe, one of the all-time greats in Penn State basketball history. How many points did he finish up with the Nittany Lions?
More than me.
A few more. 15, 1,600, something.
I thought he was closer to 2,000, but we fabricate everything.
And there is Mike Martin in his 8th year as head coach at his alma mater. He was part of a great class of Bears who back in the early 2000s put up more wins than any other graduating class in the history of Brown basketball. And so he knows this program through and through. And he is now the second winningest coach in Brown history behind the great L. Stanley Ward back in the 50s and 60s.
Who can forget L. Stanley Ward?
Exactly. Joey Baker taking his time for the layup. First 2 points for the sophomore from Fayetteville, North Carolina.
But where did it come from? It came from Vernon Carey away from the basket. At times you have to clear that post to allow back cuts, driving opportunities, and now a breakaway dunk.
6 for Vernon Carey Jr. Well on his way to a 9th double-double. And he puts Duke back in front. Tabanig Cho has been held in check so far, and he dribbles the basketball away to Goldwire. Goldwire, end-to-end, missed the layup. And we've got a foul on the rebound.
Hey, look, this is a great back cut, but it's a great back cut because it's there. Why is it there? Vernon Carey in the dribble handoff situations away from the basket. There's no one back to the basket to protect the rim. And then Vernon Carey doing his job. That's the anticipation Coach K talked about. See the play, see it develop, anticipate, go make something happen.
First foul on Joshua Howard. Tomorrow we'll have a good one for you in our afternoon college basketball game on ABC and the ESPN app. Bill Self leads number 5 Kansas into Maples Pavilion to take on Oscar da Silva and 11-1 Stanford. The Jayhawks and Cardinal have met in this non-conference matchup the last 3 years, with KU winning all 3. Our coverage begins at 3 Eastern, noon Pacific on ABC.
Stanford's good. They're aggressive. They get after it. They just look to push it. They look to shoot quickly. Not the old Mark Madsen Stanford Cardinal, I'll tell you that.
No, and Jared Haas, former Kansas Jayhawk, is the reason why Stanford has gotten off to such a great start this year and why this series continues with him as head coach of Stanford. Cho, challenged shot. Stanley's going to be called for the foul. He doesn't like it. Second foul on the freshman out of Sierra Canyon High School in Los Angeles.
Usually good when I see calls in slow-mo, maybe 3 times. I don't know. I look for backspin. If you don't have good backspin and you usually shoot with backspin, then it probably was a foul. That shot looked okay, so I doubt he really fouled him that hardly. Is that correct? Hardly?
No, it's not.
Just that hard, right?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
I was waiting for either the Penn State or UCLA education to kick in there.
I'm not sure when either of them are going to kick in. That history degree I got from UCLA, maybe one day I'll teach.
Oh, I'll count on you.
Probably not history.
A little history of the Duke and Brown basketball program.
Sure.
That'll be your forte today. With John Crispin, I'm Doug Sherman here at Cameron Indoor Stadium. Thanks so much for joining us as we get to the noon hour. Duke with all it can handle so far with the Ivy League opponent. Try to take advantage of their huge size mismatch. Matthew Hurt with his first 2, and it's a 7-1 run for the Blue Devils.
Well, that's terrific recognition from a young guy. He understood he had the advantage, so he went after it.
Anderson, an air ball, out of bounds off of Gainey. It'll be Duke basketball when we return to Durham.
Cassius Stanley doing what Coach K said he needed him to do, anticipating. Sometimes anticipating is thinking a little less, although thought was the next one that he had. Anticipating, making plays. Look, when you can't get good offense going, when you're struggling to shoot the 3 and you're struggling to get anything in the post with double teams, you've got to create your own offense. You do it on the defensive end.
Well, they've got 18 of their 21 points from the paint. The other 3 are from the free throw line. They are 0 for 7 from distance. Here's Hurt again inside. Over Howard, no. DeLaurier the offensive rebound. Dangerous pass. O'Connell able to bring it out to Hurt with 10 to shoot. O'Connell lets fly. And another offensive rebound. The possession continues for a reach-in foul against Joshua Howard. He's the reason why Brown wanted to schedule this game. He's from Charlotte, North Carolina, out of Providence Day School. And so Mike Martin is one of those guys who, as a coach, wants to bring each of his players back to their home region. He actually tried this year to get a game in Utah for Zach Hunsaker, his 3-time captain, but he said all 6 Division I teams in the state of Utah said thanks, but no thanks.
Jeez.
How about that?
That's what happens when you're too good.
They went and beat San Diego State pretty handily last year, and that got some people's attention.
You know, I'm watching the shooting woes for Duke, and that is a problem. It kind of becomes an epidemic because it's something that gets in your head. It's a mental issue. You've got to watch the passes that they're receiving when they're trying to shoot. You've got to throw good, crisp shooting passes where a guy can catch it in rhythm, be shot ready, and get a good look. I haven't seen a lot of crisp passes to open three-point shooters, and I've got to think that has something to do with it.
First foul on Matthew Hurt. And so Tamanig Cho out of Lowell, Massachusetts at the line shooting 2. Tip off your weekend and the new year with our star-studded NBA doubleheader Friday on ESPN and the ESPN app. Joel Embiid and the 76ers take on James Harden, Russell Westbrook and the Rockets at 8 p.m. Eastern, and then LeBron, Anthony Davis, and the Lakers host 80's former team, the Pelicans, at Staples Center. Our coverage begins with NBA Countdown Friday at 7 Eastern. Goldwire hanging in the air for 2. Mitchell thought about it, goes around Delorier, and will have a chance for 3. A blocking foul called against Matthew Hurt.
That's one where I would just like to see Matthew Hurt get there just a little bit quicker. He's a step behind the play, and instead of trying to get your feet set and take that charge, just get there and wall up. Get there quickly, go straight up. That was like a foul and a flop at the same time.
Second foul on Hurt. And so David Mitchell, sophomore from Roxbury, Massachusetts, at the foul line. I mentioned he doesn't score a lot, but he has already scored 6, doubling his season average here today.
Great place to have a season high. Huh?
Why not? Moore, White, O'Connell, Goldwire, and Delorier, the 5 on the floor, and their home whites. Duke blue lettering. O'Connell misses on the runner. Down 4, Brown on the move. Cho dumps it off. Friday the reverse, but it wouldn't fall. Dan Friday is a tremendous talent who has had a problem as a freshman staying healthy so far this year. Whistle on the drive, and Jack White will shoot a pair. Personal against Cho. His second.
This is just almost an amazing finish. I mean, from our angle up here in the perch, I thought it was good. There are pretty misses, you know that, right?
Yeah,
pretty misses.
I do.
It's like anytime you go to dunk on somebody, you know what that's like, and you brick it off the back of the rim, and you're chest to chest. Like, that's a pretty miss. It's the guy that missed the dunk is still the more intimidating of the two.
Now, you had me until you said a missed dunk. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I've never missed a dunk.
Never made one either.
Well, there's that. First 2 points from Jack White, the senior co-captain from Australia. And we saw the athletic ability of Dan Friday, who Brown assistant coach T.J. Sorrentine, the former Vermont Catamount great, said Friday is the most talented player he has recruited during his tenure at Brown, which is now a decade long. Here he is with the basketball, trying to work on White. Wave off the basket, offensive foul.
Look, that's good defense. Sitting down, taking the charge. I just hate the charge in college basketball. I don't know how to do it. You know, it's kind of like that. I have an idea, but there's really no way to do it. It's just kind of in theory. Take the charge out. You have to jump. You have to block a shot. Yep. I would love to see that. That charge, it's just, to me, it slows the game down. I think it's the hardest thing to get right, too. You put a restricted arc out there, it doesn't make it any easier. If anything, it makes it harder because you look to see if their feet are outside of the restricted arc, yet not really set.
Moore spins into the lane. Here's Friday with the basketball. You could see, by the way, Friday attacked the basket and finished in spite of the offensive foul. He's not afraid.
No, he shouldn't be. Look at the body on this kid.
And he's the type of recruit Brown and the other Ivy League programs are able to get nowadays that maybe a decade ago they wouldn't have. And Coach Martin was quick to give the credit to Tommy Amaker, the former Duke great, and now Harvard head coach, who has really lifted the level of play across the conference. You know, the rising tide lifts all boats kind of feeling around the Ivy League, that Harvard is now here and the other teams are coming up to join them.
Rising tides lifts all boats, and then when you look at it from a basketball perspective, it changes the narrative, right? It not only does it change the narrative, it also changes what you need to win within that conference. If you want to compete, you adapt to the conference. You at least adapt to the best of the conference. Much like, quite frankly, the ACC has had to adapt to Duke in so many years.
Yep. Guys like Jalen Gainey and Dan Friday, who we have seen contribute so far here today. Would they have been Ivy Leaguers 10 years ago? Here's Brandon Anderson. All 9 of his points have come from beyond the three-point line, and the Ivy League's leading scorer has the Bears back within 3.
And that play will drive Coach K nuts, because it's just a lack of a sense of urgency, really. Wendell Moore's got to get up there. You got to fight through any screen, get through it, and contest the shot. They just haven't done it.
Carey is fouled by Mitchell, his second.
I've said before, look, I mean, where are you? You're just getting lost. See, man, see ball, simple principles, right? Well, easier said than done, clearly, at this level. You've got to identify. If you're going to switch, you better know who you're switching on, and you better know where he's at. Otherwise, he's going to get an open 3 and keep his team in this ballgame.
Here's the 3-time ACC Freshman of the Week out of NSU University School in Florida. His father of the same name, of course, played in the NFL. Tremendous lineman for many years, Vernon Carey. And it's interesting when you hear Coach K talk about Vernon Carey's transformation this year from being a perimeter player in high school to now being told to go and utilize your size and athletic ability in the paint.
Yeah, I think there still needs to be a balance, because the offense has been better when he was used at that high post area or out to the three-point line. You have better spacing. Like I said, look, Kansas struggled with that earlier this season, trying to play 2 bigs with Udoka Azubuike just posted up in the paint constantly.
Hunsaker, no. Carey bats it away. Hunsaker after it, and it comes to Joey Baker. Wendell Moore, the crossover. His pass deflected. Baker brings it back to Moore, who feeds inside to Carey. Goes over his left shoulder, no. Jack White up again, and he sticks it in. Timeout on the floor as Duke has matched its largest lead of the day at 31-24. Duke 31, Brown 24, 3.5 minutes remaining. There's some of the crazies. Yeah, of course, we are between semesters, so far fewer students who have made it into Cameron today, but crazy nonetheless. Yet another sellout. Not since 1990 has there been an empty seat here in this building for a men's basketball game.
And I'm sure there was a reason in 1990 that it wasn't sold out. Let me see the kids that paint their shirts on or whatever. There's always like a variety. You get the one kid who's proud of the body, the other one's like kind of apathetic, and the other one gave up a long time ago.
Right. Yeah, my freshman year at Syracuse, I painted my face and kept my shirt on.
Good job. You were the apathetic one, weren't you?
By the way, you're welcome for that. Under 3 minutes remaining. This is Duke's largest lead so far today in a game that began this morning, 11:31 a.m. tip-off. Cho trying to back his way down on Cassius Stanley. And Cho, who is averaging over 14 points per game, still without a field goal.
He hasn't gotten to the basket. He's been forced to take tough jumpers, and that's what you want.
Carey, no. And it's been an equal opportunity misfire for Duke. They've had 8 guys get into the game. Now 7 of them have missed a three-point shot.
Not a lot of those threes have come from inside out, drive, kick threes. That's what you want. Those are rhythm shots where you're stepping into the shot, your shoulders are squared, your feet are set. It's in rhythm. That's going to be a higher percentage 3. They have not gotten that yet. They've gotten a lot of those.
White off the feed from Goldwire. It's the only thing keeping Duke in charge. You know, their second chance baskets. Other than that, they have gone kind of toe for toe with Brown.
Yeah, and physical superiority can at times be fool's gold, right? That's not what's going to work against another strong, lengthy, athletic team.
Well, as we mentioned, Duke is playing its only game in the last week plus. They had a longer than usual break for the holidays, and only once have they played in the last 3 weeks before today. Their next game will be New Year's Eve night against Boston College here at Cameron.
And also no Trey Jones. You can't say enough about this. This guy's averaging about 7 assists a game. He's an initiator. He's a facilitator. He's the best on-the-ball defender in this conference. So, yeah, that's going to change things for Duke. It's a shot to the identity, but they've still got to find a way to get what they need. And so far, they're doing it inside.
10 points for Vernon Carey Jr. off of the 11th Brown turnover. And so even without Trey Jones, the Duke defense has been able to get after Brown pretty well. Hunsaker has it knocked away, and there's a foul called against Duke. The college football playoff semifinals are later today on ESPN and the ESPN app. Heisman winner Joe Burrow and number 1 LSU take on number 4 Oklahoma in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 Pacific. And then it's number 2 Ohio State, number 3 Clemson in the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl. And the winners will play for the national championship Monday, January 13th on ESPN. I think you and I are thinking the same thing about the semis coming up today, that game number 2 might ultimately wind up determining who wins the championship this year.
I don't know why I feel like that. I just do. Watching those teams play, I think Clemson, we've just dogged them all year because they almost lost to North Carolina. Sorry for bringing that name up in this Duke broadcast, but you almost lose that game and then we discredit everything else in the season. I don't really get that. Teams are good. Teams are a tough matchup at times. Sometimes they do things that you struggle to figure out. Doesn't mean you're not a good football team. And I think Ohio State is just as good as it gets. Defensively, offensively, they adapt. They counter whatever the other team's doing. Ryan Day's been terrific.
And it is weird not having the Crimson Tide in for the first time since they instituted the college football playoff. Duke still 0 from three-point land, yet they still continue to get after the offensive glass and will keep it on the team rebound out of bounds. Timeout, Duke. Back in 30 seconds. Big number 1, Vernon Carey, 6'10", 270 pounds, has been a force inside so far here today for the Blue Devils.
And he's gotten a lot of attention. A lot of the attention that he's getting is actually opening up offensive rebounding opportunities for his teammates. You see the production, but what you can't really put on paper is what he does in terms of challenging and changing the defense. Double teams should lead to open shots. The problem is Duke hasn't been able to knock many down.
The good news is Duke already has 12 offensive rebounds in this ball game. Now 0 for 10 from 3 for Duke. Final 30 seconds of the half here at Cameron Indoor Stadium. Brandon Anderson trying to initiate with 5 on the shot clock. Off the switch, gets around Carey. Howard, a good look for 3. Well done, Brown Bears.
Well, they got the switch. They got Vernon Carey on Anderson, and he just attacked.
Baker. Carey's got time, lost it. More no. Multiple attempts, and it's an empty trip to end the first half for Duke.
Well, Brown has to feel really good about how they finished this half. Like I said, you got the switch, and then all you do is just put your head down and attack. Got an open look right now, down 6 points.
Vernon Carey leads all scorers with those 10 points. Brandon Anderson has 9 for Brown. Let's head you to the studio with Phil Murphy and Seth Greenberg.
Thanks, Doug. Welcome in to our E-Trade halftime report. Maybe a little closer than we thought at the half. Brown, Up 3 midway through that first half. Duke goes on a 21-9 run, stretches things out a little bit. Coach, as you've seen the two halves of this first half, what have been your observations?
This is really simple. You're playing without your leader, Trey Jones. His ability to defend the ball, get deflections, get yourself out in transition. It's your second game in 22 days. The two hardest games to play in college basketball are the games before Christmas and coming out of Christmas. So you put all those things together, and you're going to get off to a slow start. Look, it takes time to settle in. When Duke's at their very best, they're pressuring the basketball. You don't contain the basketball, you give a dribble penetration, you give up an easy one. Brown right now, once again, on a ball reversal. Late closeout, you give up a 3. That's not being locked in without your leader, Trey Jones, who can dominate the basketball. But then eventually Duke settled in. Their ability to get out in passing lanes, knock balls away, get out in transition. Look, they haven't made a three-point shot in the first half. This is where Duke will win this basketball game. Their ability to execute in the half court, great back cut right there by Joey Baker, and their ability to turn Brown over and get out in transition. So it takes time to settle into a game. That's the reality of it. It takes longer to settle into a game when you're playing without Trey Jones, your leader, the guy that basically is the first line of defense. He doesn't defend, he disrupts. And then also coming off of that long break. 2 games in 22 days, that's going to be an issue. Duke will be fine.
But Brown themselves, they haven't played since December 10th, the bugaboo for them. 11 turnovers in that first half, 12 offensive rebounds allowed. Coach, we still have some game here left in Durham, but looking ahead, this ACC schedule coming up for Duke, what stands out to you?
Well, look, they got 6 games between the 4th and the 21st. That Louisville game obviously is going to be a huge game, but that will be the time. They're going to get game tested. They're going to go on the road. This will be an interesting time for this Duke team. Duke will be a different team when they get Trey Jones back. But they ease into league play, obviously, with Boston College, Miami, Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, and Clemson. Those first 5, not exactly the top of the ACC. That will get them ready to play a Louisville team that is hard to play against. Pack line defense, own the tempo of the game. They've got a tough wing scorer in Jordan Nwora. So, to me, the schedule is very, very favorable for Duke. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens. The second half, you'll see a better defensive effort.
And according to BPI, they have the easiest remaining schedule in the ACC. Coming up after the break, we take a look around other college basketball games, all that's going on in this early part of this Saturday. Seth Greenberg here. Coach, this one's all they're talking about at DuPont Circle. Georgetown American Omar Yurtseven on early for the Hoyas.
Yeah, this is a different Georgetown team since those defections, and they're playing more through Omar Yurtseven. His ability to score around the basket opens up the floor for dribble penetration. Matt McClung, I like this Georgetown team.
Georgetown's 5-game win streak, though, in peril. They're down 1 midway through that first half. And Florida, a little more comfortable for the home team. Noah Locke, Quist Clover. Florida's rolling.
Yeah, Noah Locke's got to make jump shots. This is a Florida team that's still developing an identity. You know they're going to defend. The big question is, how do they score? Noah Locke making jumpers will open up the floor. Quest Glover gives him a penetrating guard that can get him easy shots.
32-12 in favor of the Gators there, still in the first half in that one. Coach, coming up later today, number 9, Memphis. We know that for the foreseeable future, the rest of the season, they're without James Wiseman. He's preparing for the NBA draft. They play New Orleans today. Who steps up for the Tigers in this one and the rest of the way now that they know they're big guys?
It's not just one player. I really like the way this Tiger team is playing because, look, they are relentless on the offensive glass. All right, they have the ability to turn you over. They play at a ridiculously fast pace, and they're active and alert defensively. Now, the one question for Memphis is real simple. They got to take care of the basketball. All right, if they can take care of the basketball, they're averaging 5 more turnovers a game without James Wiseman. So I think it's really important. Ball security is going to be very important, but this is a team, in my opinion, that's Elite 8, maybe even Final 4 good. They're not void of talent. As you look at the schedule, they got the Georgia game will be very interesting. Obviously, Anthony Edwards, one of the best players in the country, might be the second pick in the draft. Wichita State from the American Conference, playing at a very high level. They play 4 perimeter players. Can they rebound the basketball? But this is a Memphis team, although young, have a toughness and athleticism.
All due respect to the New Orleans Privateers, they don't have a win yet this season against a Division I opponent. We expect things to be somewhat comfortable for Memphis, but we expected things to be comfortable for Duke. That hasn't been the case.
It's not. They don't have the initiator. That's not just play initiator. That's game initiator. Vernon Carey's been good. I think he's been one of the most consistent players on this team throughout the entire season. But Brown has had answers. They've been comfortable in terms of getting some mismatches, getting the shots that they want, whether it be through that dribble handoff or just attacking. You know, if you get the mismatch you want, you're going to get the type of shots you want, and Brown's got just enough to stay in this basketball game.
Anderson is 3 of 5 from distance as a team. Brown is 5 of 10, and that's helped the Ivy League team to hang around with the Duke Blue Devils, who come in having won 4 in a row, but again, we stress that both these teams, not surprisingly, would have some rust today. They are both coming off of long holiday and final exam breaks. And you hear from coaches, John, that this is the hardest time of the year because they just don't know what they're going to get from day to day and game to game.
And it's also just trying to find consistency in practices. You don't always have good practices around the holidays. Even though you should have their full attention once finals are over and students are off campus, it's just hard to be locked in and engaged. And that's where a lot of these kids don't realize they're not pros yet. Pros know how to bring it when they need to bring it.
Anderson misfires. Offensive rebound, Tamanig Cho. Cho is blocked by Cassius Stanley. If Brown is going to hang in this game or pull an upset, they need Cho to get going. Stuck with only 1 point, despite averaging over 14 per game. Goldwire, Baker, Carey, Hurt, and Stanley on the floor for Duke. 12 points now for Vernon Carey Jr.
That's not an easy shot either. You got to give that kid credit. He's got great touch. Good spin, took contact, just got it up on the rim. Some guys try too hard to make the shot. The guys that make more of them just try to get it on the rim.
On cue, Cho, the junior from Lowell, Mass, makes his first field goal.
All I'm paying attention to second half defensively for Duke is just stance. Are you engaged? Are you locked into a stance? And Vernon Carey, that little slip, that's going to be too easy. No backside help. Showed as if he was going to set the screen and slipped. Wide open layup.
You can see why he leads the ACC in field goal percentage at 61%. Efficient around the cup. He's got 14 points.
I would keep going at Cassius Stanley until he shows that he's going to lock down, fight through a screen. There he just ran into it. Keep attacking.
Cho, after the bobble, missed it. Rebound, Matt DeWolf. And he missed the layup. Got to take advantage of those opportunities if you're going to hang with Duke here. Passing away from the double team, Baker. Duke still 0 from beyond the three-point line. And for Joey Baker, that is quite a contrast to what he has done this year. 53% on the year coming in. He went 4 for 5 in the win over Winthrop. 5 for 7 against North Florida. And he is 0 for 4 here today. Foul on Vernon Carey Jr.
We talked about Vernon Carey. We know about his size. He's an impressive body, but he's got great touch, great finesse. He gets out of the post. He re-engages in the offensive action. This is not an easy shot. Bad angle. Just give it a chance on the rim. It's a guy who's showing a willingness to work to get open shots, and at times that means vacate that post, take yourself out of the play before you re-engage.
And he continues to put in a lot of work with assistant coach Nate James. He's still adjusting to the physicality of college basketball. And we talked about the fact that Carey didn't spend a lot of time in the paint as a high schooler. Offensive rebound, Howard. Hunsaker can't get the roll. And the rebound comes to Jordan Goldwire. Quickly up ahead to Stanley. O'Connell whips it inside. Carey going to work. Give him 2 more. That's 16.
Hard to defend Duke when you have a strong post player, when the ball changes sides of the floor that quickly. As the defense is rotating to get to the basketball, the middle of the paint opens wide up. That's how they're able to get the ball to Vernon Carey.
You know, one of the things Coach Case told us about in recent days, what they're working on with Carey, layup is made by DeWolf, is getting Carey, who's got really good footwork, to run baseline to baseline, not free throw to free throw. And we saw that he ran baseline to baseline the last time and made himself available immediately.
If you win the position battle earlier, if you're a guy like Vernon Carey, that's where you got your opponent beat, right there. If you win that position battle first, you're going to be able to dominate the game, do whatever you want down low. Because if you have position, you're close enough to the basket, that double team does nothing. You go right at it.
DeWolf, backdoor pass. Howard on the reverse. 43-35. Brown back within 8. O'Connell lost the handle on the pass, and here comes Anderson and the Bears. Cho missed the dunk, but he was fouled from behind by Cassius Stanley. And that is the third on the freshman wing for Duke.
Take Vernon Carey off the floor, and I don't know what happens for this Duke basketball team. He's been dominant to start this second half. This basketball game, he's doing it here in the second half. Gets tough shots to fall, but ultimately his activity has been better. He's gotten better position. He's made better reads. And ultimately that starts in transition. If you win that position battle early and the ball gets moved around, you are going to get wide open layup opportunities inside the paint. The hope is that as defense converges, they can get a three-point shot to fall.
Well, he's got all 8 Duke points here in the second half as Cho continues to struggle from the free throw line. He is 1 of 5 so far today from the stripe. Make it 1 of 6. And so now with Carey on the bench, where do you go here, John? Well, Stanley dribbles the ball off his foot out of bounds. Take that opportunity away. But next time they get into a half-court set, where does Duke go without Carey?
I think you got to move it around the perimeter quickly. You got to use Javin DeLaurier as a screener around the perimeter, not just in the post. You got to vacate that post, open up driving lanes, and see who can make a play. I think that's what this comes down to. When you're not making shots, shots often dictate your emotional feelings during the game. It can't be that way. You've got to continue to be the aggressor. So I would create space and see who can make a play.
Here's Joshua Howard, the son of former Michigan Wolverine great and current Michigan head coach Juwan Howard. Had his shot blocked. Then the foul comes against the Blue Devils. It'll be 2 free throws for Brandon Anderson out of Don Bosco Prep in New Jersey. The personal goes against Matthew Hurt, and that is his 3rd. I asked Anderson yesterday after practice, who's the toughest defender you've had to deal with in college? He said Fats Russell at Rhode Island, he was going to have to deal with next. On Thursday, the Bears will play the Rams in Providence. Tomorrow we'll have a good one for you in our afternoon college basketball game on ABC and the ESPN app. Bill Self leads number 5 Kansas to Stanford, where the Cardinal is 11-1. The Jayhawks and Cardinal have met in this non-conference matchup the last 3 years, with KU winning all 3. Coverage begins on ABC, 3 Eastern, noon Pacific.
I don't think there's any question Kansas' biggest strength is their size, but that also can be their biggest limitation. The game is all about balance these days. That's just what it is. It's inside-out balance. It's spacing on the floor. Versatility will win more in March and April than 1 or 2 good players.
See that stat there, over 1,000 games since Duke went over from beyond the three-point line. Coach K?
I bet they're all thinking about that right now. Like, it's been 1,070 games.
The all-time winningest coach in college basketball history. I'm guessing he's not thinking about it at this point. Offensive foul against Goldwire. He's thinking about the fact more specifically and broadly, the fact that the offense has not been good today.
Yeah, that's not good offense. I mean, I don't know about the call. It doesn't really matter what I think anyway, but it's just not good offense. You know, just putting your head down and not having the space to be able to turn a corner, get an angle at the basket. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that you're not making three-point shots.
Second foul on Goldwire, another Duke turnover. Just over 5 minutes into the second half. Anderson tries to find Cho, who was held from behind, and so Goldwire picks up his 3rd personal.
And talking to Coach K this morning at shoot-around, communication was big. You know, it's even more important when you don't have Trey Jones on the floor. You know, he's their best communicator. He's their leader on the floor. But communication's everything on the defensive end. That goes into building that chemistry that you need to be able to be successful in the ACC. When you see these dribble handoff situations, these ball screen situations, they get lost because of a lack of communication.
O'Connell clears the Mitchell miss.
Now, communication is also feel, too. And that feel comes from a chemistry that you develop over time. This is a team that's still figuring each other out.
Delorier feeds White, spins to the left, missed it, missed the rim. Well, he's happy to have missed the rim the first time because he's going to have a chance for three.
Jack White's changed his game a bit, right? You know, he came out, you expected him to be a better three-point shooter. He struggled, but he's still finding opportunities to impact the game. Good roll to the basket, keeps the ball alive, strong finish. And generally good body language, which is more important than you can imagine.
Well, he's the consummate upperclassman captain that Coach K could want.
Yeah.
You know, there were times last year where he played games and Coach would just rave about the role that he had played, saying spectacular, things like that. You don't hear that about a guy who averages maybe 5 or 6 points a game, but he does his role very, very well. Tough shot by Anderson, who's now got a dozen. Goldwire gives it to Delorier. O'Connell swings to White.
Good scramble defensively by Brown.
Moore, tough shot. Able to get the roll. First 2 points for the freshman out of Cox Mill High School in Charlotte.
I would say that's been what's most surprising is that you've seen a lot of tough shots having to be made by Duke. It hasn't been offensive continuity. It probably goes back to the start. No Trey Jones, but also the long layoff.
And Trey Jones, the terrific sophomore point guard for Duke, sitting out this ball game. His second straight game missed with a mild left foot strain. Moore had it blocked. Anderson able to stay ahead of Goldwire and lay it in.
I feel like the way you said that, mild left foot sprain. I think basically what you were saying was hashtag would likely be playing if this was conference play.
No question. No question, which makes you think all the more if there are no setbacks, he will almost certainly play against Boston College next time out on New Year's Eve. Long two for O'Connell.
Yeah, but it's a jumper. We saw a jumper fall. I don't mean to be so condescending about it, but it's important. You got to see it go through the hoop.
Well, we see all sorts of strange numbers we're not accustomed to, both in college basketball and the NBA these days. O'Connell the steal, and he's bodied by Mitchell in the backcourt. Third foul on him.
Brown defensively, they've been in position. There's the backside help. Leads to an easy layup opportunity. I mean, this is how they've been able to kind of stay within striking distance. 10 points is within striking distance. I think if you're Brown, you feel pretty good for the most part. You know you don't have an answer physically for Vernon Carey. Not many people do.
O'Connell again with a long two. He's starting to heat up.
Get it while you're hot. There you go. I mean, look, that's what it is. You build on that rhythm. This game hasn't had much of it since the start.
But the folks here in Cameron appreciative that the Blue Devils now have their largest lead of the game at 52-40.
Duke Brown starting to get things going for Duke because they got a couple jumpers to fall. Feeling it. I am not letting Vernon Carey beat me.
Think they could use that guy?
I'd say a lot of teams. You know what? The 76ers could use him back.
Moore the steal. Trying to find Carey, who's back in the game underneath. Lob over top, deflected. Carey recovers in the corner. O'Connell turns the corner. White misses the follow slam. Down a dozen. Brown with 9 minutes gone here in the second has Cho turn it over. That is 15 on the day. Before the shot, we've got a blocking foul. We'll take a break one more time with the Blue Devils up 12. Mike Krzyzewski calls his alma mater, West Point, the world's best leadership institution. And Coach K certainly knows different ways to push his team's buttons. A week and a half ago, there's his signature. He had his coaches and his players sign Coach K court in front of the Duke bench as a symbol to say, yeah, this is my court, but it needs to be your court.
Yeah, it's interesting when you see Coach K kind of digging deep into the bag of tricks. You need leadership, especially when you're a young team. I mean, it's really hard when your oldest players aren't your best players. I can't say that enough. When your oldest players are your best players, they are your natural born leaders. They've grown into the role that they're in.
That's a pretty good baseline out of bounds coming out of a timeout.
There's a reason why I shut up. It happens every now and then. But I mean that. Look, if your oldest players are not your best players, it's tough. You almost have to have collective leadership. And in a way, that's what you see. They all take ownership of what they're responsible for.
Duke's done a nice job of taking Hunsaker out of the game.
Say what?
His first field goal could wind up being 4 points.
Usually on out of bounds underneath, if you give up a basket, let alone a lob dunk, it's because of bad defense. It's usually not. Look, no one should ever score that easily, and this is just a bit of a heave. I love the fact that he shot it. I don't think Jack White expected to see that shot go up, let alone go in.
Well, Zach is a senior from North Salt Lake, Utah. He is now 25 years old, and he went on an LDS mission coming out of high school. And when he was in Mozambique, he actually thought he was going to come back to the States and play for his dad, Dick, who was then the head coach at Utah Valley. But while son was over in Mozambique on his mission, his father decided to retire. So when he came back to the States, he didn't have a Division I offer, went to junior college at Snow College in Utah. And his recruitment really blew up. I mean, Texas Tech wanted this guy. Penn State wanted this guy. He's the highest rated recruit Mike Martin and his staff has gotten in his 8 years in charge of Brown.
It's a great story, too. I mean, like, when you're an NBA prospect, your age is a problem, right? We say, oh, he's 22 years old. Now he's just past his prime. He's not a lottery pick. That's ridiculous. But when you're a college player, that experience, that life experience ultimately makes you a leader on the floor.
And he is the rare three-time captain who is a married man as well. Zach married his sweetheart Megan over the summer, and she made the trip to here in Durham, a chance to come inside Cameron Indoor. Here is her husband with the basketball.
Smokes, what was I waiting for? He didn't waste any time.
No. Although he is 25. Anderson around and out. Carey had that ball go off his fingertips out of bounds. Well, here was the wedding day during the offseason for Zach and Megan Hunsaker. There's his mom and dad as well. Dick on the left, who was a longtime Division I head coach. He took Ball State to the Sweet 16 back in 1990. And he thought he was going to be able to play for his dad out in Utah, but didn't work out that way. And he always wanted to be an Ivy Leaguer, and he's going to have himself an Ivy League degree from Brown University. Out of bounds. Bears give it back to the Blue Devils. Well, I understand the stress.
You got to be a broadcaster. We never lose.
Megan Hunsaker enjoying watching her husband, but you can see the stress on her face. Down 11. Terry's pass a little too far for White to reach. Here comes Hunsaker. Great job to run the floor, though, and cleaned it up by Josh Howard, who's got 7 points.
That was a really hard smack of the backboard. Could you hear that from up here?
Basket's still shaking, by the way.
Still shaking. I mean, that hurt my hand just thinking about it.
Under 9 minutes to go.
Good sloppy.
Turnover. Perry Cowan dumps it off. White the block shot. And it's Duke possession.
I wasn't kidding about this. This was a hard slap. I'm going to stop talking. Listen for it. I mean, it really didn't play at all. That sound didn't help me any. I'm trying to talk about how loud it was. And we heard like a little Q-tip hitting the backboard.
I think you made your point.
It was loud, I swear.
What we need now is a shot of Wendell Moore flexing his hand to prove how hard he hit the rim or hit the backboard. And he's out of the game, carries out. White takes a seat. Stanley hurt with the basketball. Delorier all back on the floor for Coach K. O'Connell attacks the baseline. His pass off the hand of a teammate. Duke able to save to Hurt. Hurt lined it up but left it short. Out of bounds. Back to Brown.
Well, you think about ACC play getting started next for Duke on New Year's Eve day, correct? So you said New Year's Eve day? Is it?
New Year's Eve evening, actually. It's a 6 o'clock
New Year's
tip.
Eve. Okay, here we go. New Year's Eve. Attention to detail, sense of urgency, all things required in conference play. Really interested to see how they finish this game. Because at some point, you've got to build a little bit of momentum that follows you into the next game.
There you go. There's
He's
proof.
shaking his hand. I see I wasn't messing around. I'm serious.
Our director, Dan Regan, all over that shot. Trying to have your back there,
Thank
Mr.
you,
Crispin.
Dan. I do. It was probably from like 20 minutes ago. It was actually.
10 to shoot, just over 8 minutes remaining as Brown hangs in there with Duke. Hunsaker had to force it up. It's not a turnover, but it may as well be. Good defense by the Blue Devils.
Well, Duke's defense is good when they're able to get set, see the basketball. They need to continue to improve upon how they defend in a scramble situation where you are chasing the play, and communication is most important.
Tough shot, comes back to Moore. We've got a whistle. We'll step away with 7:28 remaining in regulation here at Cameron. That's right, Phil. We're looking forward to it. Precious Achua, DJ Jeffries. They get Lester Quinones back today, so no James Wiseman. That's the way it's going to be. But as they are constituted, as far as I'm concerned, Penny Hardaway has a team that can easily get to the second weekend, if not the Final Four.
I would say second weekend, yes. They're still young, and that youth will be exposed, particularly in the NCAA tournament, but they need to look at their conference season as a way to develop into the team that they're going to become. Similar to like Gonzaga in years past, the St. Mary's in years past for the West Coast Conference. You've had opportunities to work on who you're going to become.
So we'll get you to the Memphis UNO game at the bottom of the hour when we wrap up here at Cameron Indoor. Duke with a basketball leading 55-46 over a pesky Brown Bears team that comes in with a 5-5 record, playing for the first time since a loss at St. John's 18 days ago in a game that Brown easily could have won. They had a breakaway dunk that would have cut the game to 2 late against the Johnnies. That just kind of deflated them. And what do you know, O'Connell takes a couple of steps back, and Duke has its first made 3 of the ball game.
Kind of rooting for him to make that.
1 of 14 now as a team.
Is that 1,071 games now, right?
Something like that.
Pretty sure.
Well, the way the game is played nowadays, whenever I see that stat, I think, well, of course you're going to make 3 every game because you take 30 of them.
Now, you go back to that point you made about Brown in terms of them being able to play with good teams. Well, the other thing is the first thing Coach K said to us, the shoot-around, was they're old. And that's what everybody wants to do. They want to get old, they want to stay old, because experienced players know how to counter, and you only win with counters, you don't win with set plays, not at this level.
Who's won national championships lately? Virginia, Villanova, with old, talented players. Long 2 by Wendell Moore.
Talented players, experience, but also identity. Identity is something, we use the word culture too much. That's lazy defense.
With the jump shooting, they have now matched their largest lead at 14.
Yeah, well, they finally got something good. Now, it's been O'Connell. He got 2 jumpers to fall, and you find a little bit of confidence. Why not get another one? Look, it could be contagious, right? Missed shots could be contagious. A lack of rhythm is contagious, but made shots can also be infectious, right? You start to feel it a little bit better. Your confidence is higher. It's amazing how sometimes it's as simple as mismake basketball. We just overthink it. Probably as a form of job preservation for us as analysts.
At the line, Brandon Anderson shooting 1 and 1. He's got 15 points to lead Brown. Again, he is the Ivy League's top scorer at 21 per game. among the most in the country. You know, he's a guy who struggled a lot last year. He had big numbers as a sophomore, and then he and Coach Martin didn't see things eye to eye last year, and both are better for it. Certainly the team is better for it. It's 1 out of 2 from the line there. But Anderson's reintegration, if you will, into the team occurred during the August trip to Spain, which really helped to spark his renaissance.
I love that teams get to do that. I really do. Not only is it a great experience, but it's great for building that team chemistry. It is, especially when you've got so many new pieces year in, year out. That's just the way college basketball is, with transfer rules being what they are.
This is the largest lead off of the Hurt basket.
Vernon Carey, great defense. No need to reach. That's great defense. Cannot say enough about how good of a job that was by Vernon Carey Jr. to defend. Hands wide, slide your feet, contest, force a tough shot. That's all you can do. You don't want to stop or block every single shot. You want to force the toughest shot possible. That's what good defense is. It's as much playing the game of probability as it is playing the game of stopping your opponent.
Mitchell and Cho both now have 4 personal fouls. And so now Goldwire at the line shooting a 1-and-1. Check that, O'Connell shooting a 1-and-1. Tonight, 11:45 Eastern Time. It is Sports Center with SVP. Reaction from the Fiesta Bowl. And take our first look at the upcoming championship game. And also, we'll hit the hardwood, the NBA Best in Action, coming up 11:45 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN and streaming live on the ESPN app. Anderson draws the foul on Carey.
That's where the perimeter defense needs to stay down and win that battle. You cannot continue to give up a dribble drive because you end up putting Vernon Carey in a bad situation on the regular. It's just been simple breakdown after simple breakdown. I know Coach K, they're going to sit down and watch this tape and they're going to say, guys, this is just, there's no sense of urgency. There's no discipline in terms of a stance and sliding your feet. All correctable issues.
Anderson misses the first. That allows Jalen Gainey to come in and replace Tamanig Cho. Anderson's quite a weapon for Brown. He joined the 1,000-point club back in November when he dropped 32 on Canisius.
As much as I'm crushing the defense, he's a tough guy to cover. And when you're constantly looking to attack and you have that much space, you're really hard to cover.
Carey tries to lob it into Hurt. Big size advantage. That's an easy 2 for the 6'9" freshman from Rochester, Minnesota.
That's the second time in this game he's been able to do that. It's the presence of mind to recognize that mismatch and going after it.
Anderson misses. Moore clears the rebound, and Duke will be in no hurry with just over 4 minutes remaining. O'Connell pulls the trigger. Give him 3 more. Well, he's the one guy on this Duke roster, John, that when he gets going, look out.
Well, he gets going, you got to continue to feed him because when he doesn't have it going, he's not as much of an asset. But you see some shots start to fall.
John.
No, it is. It's a bucket list item for me. I haven't called a game here yet. It's my first game here at Cameron Indoor, and it's spectacular. You know, yes, North Carolina Duke would be a better matchup to call. Well, you know, reality has me on this broadcast, and it's still awesome. Like, this place doesn't disappoint. Not to mention campus. You know, you forget that these great arenas, these great environments, they also have fantastic campuses. I got to get out for a walk yesterday. Man, it was terrific.
Well, talking to Brown head coach Mike Martin yesterday after their practice, he likened this to the Palestra. It's another living museum of the sport of basketball.
And I wish there were more of them. At Penn State, we had Rec Hall, but it became the Bryce Jordan Center.
Whoa. You didn't just put Rec Hall at Penn State anywhere near the same conversation with Cameron and the Palestra.
No, but they're the same building. They're the same type of buildings.
Okay.
The Palestra, Cameron Indoor, the Fog Allen Fieldhouse. Hey, look, it's all that same era of building.
But
and teams are getting away from that, and that's my point. Before you jump down my throat.
But wait a second.
No, here's the deal. Teams are getting away from it because it's become an entertainment thing. What's more entertaining than a game at Cameron Indoor Stadium?
Of course, you don't have to convince me of that.
We don't need to build a massive arena just to do monster truck rallies and dirt bike races and Billy Joel concerts. Have a great arena and a great environment for basketball like this. Now, granted, Dean Smith Center, yeah, they're going to pack that out. Rupp Arena, they're going to pack that out. But there are a lot of programs out there that have these massive arenas and they have curtains up because they can't fill the seats. That drives me crazy.
Well, now you're talking about Penn State. I mean, there's a perfect example that building is too large for that program. And they just don't fill it. They fill it for wrestling. They fill it for other sports, but not for men's basketball. Hockey.
Britney Spears got it filled up.
I'm sure she did. I'll tell you what they've done here at Duke is poured a lot of great money over the years into making sure this is a modern building, much like they did it in Chicago with Wrigley Field.
Yes.
Keeping the feel of what it was like 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago. But you don't feel uncomfortable when you're here. You're comfortable with the creature comforts we're used to.
Creature comforts. I mean, how about just too easy?
Wendell Moore now with 8 points after the slam dunk that makes it 73-48.
How about a great environment and a home court advantage for basketball? That to me has more value than a big old empty arena.
Cho, tough runner off the glass. He's been held to 5 points. That's 9 under his season average. Nonetheless, Brown was able to hang around until the later stages. They were down only 6 at the break, but Duke has started to get it rolling here in the second.
They have. I mean, part of it is you got defense spaced out. You finally made a couple three-point shots. Vernon Carey Jr., great job with keeping his eyes up. Not enough to be a displacement foul there. Just defense fell apart. Duke finally, kind of turning it up a notch to put this thing away. But that sense of urgency, that's got to be there from the start. I have to think it might be there if Tre Jones starts this game. Again, not only offensive initiator, but that a game initiator.
No double-double today for Vernon Carey, 19.6 rebounds. He's been replaced by one of the co-captains, Justin Robinson. Mike Buckmeyer has also come in. Here's Robinson, gonna have to put it up. And we saw in the pregame warm-ups, John, Justin Robinson doing a 360 slam dunk, and this young man who doesn't get many minutes. It's just remarkable the talent that Duke has. There's another block shot from big number 50, the Admiral's son. It leads to a layup at the other end by Moore.
I think we should make note that it wasn't just a normal. There's the dad, the Admiral, David Robinson. It wasn't just a normal 360 dunk. I don't even know what he did, but it was ridiculous. You just forget the level. I mean, when you go from high school to college to pros, all these kids want to be pros, but they have no idea what it's really all about yet.
Yep.
You don't realize that the level of the jump, it's significant.
His dad, of course, was the National Player of the Year at Navy. There's another block shot that makes Dad proud.
I remember that Sports Illustrated article. Came out, the Admirals on the cover.
Moore, Buckmeyer. Couldn't get the roll. With the shot clock off.
I love Duke fans. They want to see more dunks, more threes, more dominance.
Davis Franks in the game for Brown. And if you're a Brown Bear, if you can score here, you can forever say, I put one in at Cameron Indoor. That'll do it. Duke runs its win streak to 5 and is now 11-1 overall. 75-50 your final score. For John Crispin, I'm Doug Sherman saying so long, and let's send you back to the studio.